Justin Thomas. So all the big names down here, but another just absolute. I've been using this term a lot, Elijah Campbell, and this time of year you can use it in South Carolina, but a Chamber of Commerce day once again. I've got right now down here on Hilton Head, very little wind, and it is currently 68 degrees. It is
lovely.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's hard for anybody that comes down here when you're doing this, and I don't just mean those of us who might be covering it or whatever, and I'll freely admit I'm here as much as a fan as I am a media member, but you just want to go grab your clubs and just run out there and start playing.
And steal around in there.
It's just so hard to not be able to. Because it's just so and this morning especially, the crowds there were, I don't know, man, there's a couple thousand people here today. I'm not sure how many, I can't fully measure it, but I'd say a couple thousand. There'll be a lot more tomorrow, and like I told you, then the crowds on Friday will really swell almost exponentially from day to day, just because so many folks can take a Friday off. But there were long gaps from time to time on some of these holes, and I'm like, man, I can go grab a driver and like a 5-iron and a putter and just go play 18 over and over. Nobody's going to mind, I won't hurt anybody unless I hit him with the ball.
Then you would be hurting somebody. Yes. That wouldn't feel good.
I might break a window or two, I don't know, but I think the condos and homes along the fairway are far enough back that even I might not cause any insurance issues. But anyway, looking forward to seeing a bunch of folks down here throughout the course of the next couple of days. Should be a whole lot of fun, but we got a lot of things to get to today. Braves are currently down to the Blue Jays. Good news, bad news today. Bad news, Braves are losing. That's been a theme this season. Good news, Spencer Strider started today and has been pretty good. He's done for the afternoon, but he was solid today in his return, and he had a good spring. They just wanted to make sure that he felt fully healthy in the first few weeks of the regular season before they put him back out as part of the regular rotation. So he should be good to go. You just want to get the Braves fully healthy and get that lineup back where it needs to be. Ronald Acuna should be back in it here, I think, inside of 2 weeks. So we got that to follow. Some Gamecock baseball to discuss. Plenty when it comes to Carolina football, just a couple of days ahead of the spring game. But certainly Elijah Campbell, as often happens, no matter what in life, you get thrown unexpected curveballs. And speaking of Lamont Paris, who I did see and speak with this morning, and he, I don't know if he had known yet. I truly don't, and I don't want to go any farther with it than that. But I saw Lamont and Shane on the 16th hole around 9:30 this morning, and both were as pleasant as could be. I mean, I've talked to both of them a bunch of times, so didn't expect anything else. Being like, "What the hell are you doing here, kid?" Or something like that, right? But if Lamont Paris had any inkling that Trayson Eaglestaff had decommitted from his program, he didn't show it, and I guess that news began to trickle out around that time this morning, right? I mean, you tell me, Elijah, as to what exactly we were looking at, but this is a blow. And can you recover? Certainly. Can you recover with an equal amount of talent? That seems at this point in time to be a much more difficult task. But for those of you who may just be tuning in and hadn't had a lot of local sports news today, Trayson Eaglestaff, who played at North Dakota, scored about 20 points a game, was a top 50 scorer this season in D1 basketball, dropped 40 on Alabama in a non-con game earlier in the season, had committed to South Carolina over Kentucky, Kansas, Gonzaga, Iowa, amongst others.
Scored 51 in a conference tournament game. 51.
Yeah, 51. And today decommitted from the South Carolina program. So just 2 weeks and a day after his commitment, it's gone. And I know you've been doing a lot of digging on this, and we'll get a lot of detail. Our buddy Alan Cole has been following it, and Alan's going to join us for our 5:15 segment coming up in a couple of hours with the very latest that he's found. But again, just wouldn't have expected this, Elijah. We know that a lot of these things are commonplace these days, but this one certainly seemed to kind of come from left field.
It really did. I mean, he signed 2 weeks ago, and he committed at the tail end of March. I mean, and the commitment process, from my understanding, was really fast. Like, we're talking Zoom interview on Wednesday, travel to Columbia on Friday, visit on Saturday, commitment on Sunday. That's the reported timeline of what got him to sign with South Carolina. And then all of a sudden, something's different. I got to go back in the transfer portal. I got to decommit. And obviously somebody has offered him a deal past the signing day, right? Or the day that he was able to, commit to South Carolina. Someone came in super late and gave him apparently an offer that he couldn't refuse. And that is brutal for this basketball team right now. I'm not saying Trayson Eaglestaff would have been the SEC Player of the Year, not saying he would have been an All-American, but you can't have enough guys like that who can just score the basketball, especially at 6'6" on the wing, right? I mean, guys that have that size, shoot the way that he does, and has the ability to score. Those guys aren't just chilling in the portal, right? There's not a lot of those guys just hanging around. And to lose him is massive because, and we'll get into the specifics of this later, you have now lost more production in the portal than you are bringing in as of right now by a pretty decent margin. And there's really not many other SEC schools that are saying the same thing in terms of just losses in the portal, not just talking about Colin. This is Colin excluded.
Right.
Portal losses in terms of just points, rebounds, assists, production, than you are bringing in. You are now below that in all three of those categories. On a team that won 2 games in the SEC last year.
Right. I'm with you in the sense that sort of today's conventional wisdom would tell you that this is primarily about money. It will be interesting to see where he lands, and we'll be careful here today because there are a lot of rumors swirling, a lot of attention, it seems, maybe focusing in on West Virginia. But I've read that Kentucky could still be in the mix. I've now seen that North Carolina is very much in the mix. And I just, I know fans of any school, in this case specifically South Carolina, want to be kind of on their guard that man, somebody's coming after us and it's tampering or something like, and it may be. I'm not saying I don't think that way or I don't overreact, but I will for the sake of all of this leave some room in the discussion, Elijah, for as you pointed out, sort of a whirlwind visit to Columbia, and that perhaps upon some kind of reflection, there may well be a better basketball opportunity for this young man. And I'm, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm with you. If you just said to me right away, do you think this is just somebody else getting to somebody around him and saying, well, hey, if you got X from South Carolina, we'll give you X plus Y and make it worth your while. That just feels almost cynically, but again, conventionally, like where this probably is. So I don't know, but regardless of where he may end up and whether it is about money or it is about basketball or it is about both, to your point, it's damaging to the psyche of a program that is already feeling kind of low.
Yeah, that's feeling about as low as it's been, since that first year that Lamont was here. This is arguably his most important offseason. And I feel like every offseason for everybody becomes more important. When you have the year that you just had, following the year you had previously, where you broke a school record for wins in a year and went to the NCAA tournament, to have the year you had last year, you needed to overhaul the roster if you were going to let that many players on the current team walk. It's like, okay, you have all these departures. Now, if you just bring in other players to replace that type of production, in theory, you have a starting spot, a base, right? And you've seen other schools in the SEC do that. I'll use an example, later on when we have a little more time in the segment about what LSU is doing in the portal. Both schools have said publicly that they're going to spend more money than they did the previous year. And that is true. But you've got, the point stands, you still got to bring in more talent than walks through your door, especially when you were 12-20, right? When you went 2-16 in SEC play, you cannot lose more than you bring in. And right now, this team has lost more than they brought in, and it's April 16th. Again, it's still not over. You can still there are plenty of players out there in the transfer portal still looking for homes, but I don't think you're going to get one who was 6'6" and scoring almost 20 points a game and was an all-conference caliber player. That might not exist at the moment. And that's kind of
and that's
the
what I want to. Yeah, and that point on where the scoring comes from, I want to take you there coming up in the next segment. We got again baseball to follow with the Braves taking on the Blue Jays right now. Again, Spencer Strider making his return. There's some other SEC football transfer news to get to. We'll talk more about what's happening here at the Heritage, and we got a lot of Gamecock spring football to get into as well. Plus, our station Twitter poll today is an interesting one on the heels of the Nico Iamaleava story being the latest. I don't know if you have that pulled up, Elijah. I don't want to put you on the spot because I
do not
currently
I was
see
unaware
right
that it was pulled up.
All right. Okay. Well,
This one
we'll
was
get
not
that
for
in a
me.
minute then. Okay. Usually they are. But today your power was usurped. That's probably my fault. You just, even though it's not, but I'll take responsibility if that makes anybody feel better. I'm just that kind of guy.
The grenade. Yeah.
That's right. And I will not shy away from the fact that I am incredibly nervous as an Arsenal fan because Arsenal takes a 3-0 lead into Madrid in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. I feel confidently nervous or nervously confident. I don't know which one means more, but I'm trying.
All right, I've got the poll pulled up here, and it just asks the question: does the current state of college football, NIL portal, etc., cause you to be less invested / interested in the sport as a whole? And it's a simple yes or no.
Okay, good. I have thoughts. I do
too.
So we'll get into that. But a lot more on this basketball story. Again, Tracing Eagles staff, big-time portal commitment from North Dakota, has now decommitted from South Carolina and is looking for his new school. Could it be Chapel Hill? Could it be Morgantown? Could it be Lexington? Could it be somewhere else? We'll find those things out soon, and maybe that helps solve a bit of the mystery as to why it didn't work or isn't going to ever happen here in Columbia. Be a part of the program with us, 803-404-6100 on the phone lines or the Firehouse Subs text line. Lots to do from Columbia and Hilton Head on this Wednesday. It's the Postgame Show. All right, welcome back in. Postgame show rolling on from Columbia and Hilton Head. Jay Phillips down here getting ready for the Heritage, which gets underway tomorrow morning, bright and early. I'll be out on the course following along, let you know what's happening. Elijah is back in Columbia. Again, it's my turn. Elijah's been in Greenville for the SEC women's tournament, then Birmingham, and then Tampa. So I figured I'd
Nashville for
venture
the
out.
men's. Yeah.
Nashville. Yeah. God, you're all over the place, man.
The month of March. I have to brace my family and loved ones and tell them I am just not very available in the month of March. So every year, book it, birthday celebrations, whatever. But we'll postpone it for another time.
Well, when I'm gone, my family and I get back, they're like, "You were gone?"
Like, wait a minute, you left? Well, you had to have at least brought something back, right? From wherever it was you went to.
They don't care. They don't care. We're continuing to talk about, some really disappointing Gamecock men's basketball news. If you're just tuning in and haven't heard today, Trayson Eaglestaff, the North Dakota transfer who committed to Carolina just barely 2 weeks ago, has decommitted today. No word on where he will be going to school. No word on exactly why. Again, is it only about the money? Is it money plus basketball? Is it only about the basketball? And I don't know. I don't know yet. Regardless, it's going to disappoint a lot of people. But Elijah, you've been doing some digging on the impact on Carolina basketball, because let's face it, you need a bona fide scorer. And last year there was a lot to like about some of the schematic things that Carolina did. They couldn't score. Let's just call it what it is. They couldn't score. And this kid was going to help. Now you've got Michi coming back, and he's not afraid to shoot. You've got young Eli Ellis coming in as a freshman, and I do think he'll now be counted upon even more greatly to help South Carolina put points on the scoreboard. But in terms of, I think your point is a good one here. Look, 14 of 16 SEC schools made the NCAA tournament. LSU and Carolina were the two that did not. And I know you've been kind of doing some digging as to what that looks like right now in terms of next year.
Yeah. So I just looked at just raw portal losses and portal gains, right? The players that you lost to the transfer portal versus the production you're bringing in with those players at their former schools. So let's do South Carolina first, right? Leaving in the transfer portal was 43.6 points per game this season. In replacing them, 33.8 points per game, which is the
and let me pause you. Let me pause you. You mentioned again, that's leaving through the portal. That doesn't count Colin, correct?
It does not count Colin, correct.
Okay.
In terms of rebounds, you are losing 17.7 rebounds per game. You are gaining 13.6. So that's a -4 in that category. And then an assist, you're losing 7.4 assists per game. And then 6 assists per game you are bringing in. So you're -1 there. So you are losing more in the transfer portal than you are bringing in. Now let's look at LSU. LSU, the only other team that, won fewer than 4 games in the SEC this season, along with you. So that's kind of who you're compared with. Both schools publicly talked about elevating their NIL resources to use for the portal and player acquisition this year, right? LSU very public about it. I've been also told South Carolina is raising their funds significantly from last season to this season. So that's kind of who you're in the neighborhood with. LSU in the transfer portal lost 24.4 points per game. They are gaining in the transfer portal 73.6 points per game. In the rebounding category, LSU is losing 13 rebounds a game and getting 25.5 rebounds a game. They are losing 2.4 assists per game. They are gaining 13.1. They are significantly gaining in every single statistical category in the portal compared to what they have lost. Now, granted, they lost Cam Carter to the NBA. Cam Carter scored a lot of points. And I'm not saying LSU is, poised to make this big jump into SEC relevance, but that just shows you exactly what more a school like LSU has been able to do in the portal. Now, if you add Trayson Eaglestaff to South Carolina's numbers, yeah, you improve significantly. But that shows you how much losing him hurts, because you are losing so much more than you are gaining from a team that went 2-16 in SEC play. What's been done in the portal is not enough. You need more, and you need somebody who's going to be able to fill up the basket as much as humanly possible and be able to help the offense run smoothly. We still don't really have an answer to the point guard position, too. You still need to address that as well. And I don't know exactly what you feel about at starting center. I mean, Kriest, I think, was a solid addition, but this is somebody that has never played more than, 22 minutes per game in his career. You're going to expect him to start? You're going to expect him to play 30 minutes? I don't know if you can. So, those are two positions there with, center. You're going to play start Jordan Butler as the center. It'd be a pretty big elevation and role. I just don't know if there's anything remotely close to what I would say is acceptable in terms of trying to seriously contend in the SEC, because everybody else is getting better. LSU got better. And again, LSU, I don't expect to contend for the SEC title, but they're going to win more than 3 games next year in the league. Feel pretty good about that because they brought in some dudes.
I know you don't have a actual concrete informed answer to this next question, but let me ask it like this for the sake of our discussion. What is the general feeling about the kind of players that are remaining, Elijah? Those that have already entered the portal and committed somewhere. Now, again, we could see somebody maybe do what Trayson did to South Carolina, and South Carolina try to go convince somebody to come do that. So that could be a two-way street. But is there a general belief that the vast majority of the top level talent that has entered the portal has already found their next home?
A lot of them have. Yeah, a lot of them certainly have. And there's a lot of missed opportunity that's out there. I mean, someone like Alabama's Darian Reed, right? Darian Reed was a blue chip high school prospect, had a solid season at Alabama. Injuries were a little bit of an issue, but that's a guy with immense talent. Hey, you got to maybe make a run at somebody like that, right? Where there's still something that you can tap into. Darian Williams from Texas Tech, who was a power forward, phenomenal player for one of the best teams in the country. But I don't know if he would seriously be interested in coming to South Carolina. Same thing for an RJ Lewis at St. John's, who was the Big East Player of the Year. Those type of guys are still out there, and there's still some good talent out there. I mean, Ian Jackson, who was one of the best, combo guards of his high school class from North Carolina, out in the portal. Can you maybe get him to just come down a state and come to South Carolina, play in the SEC, and prove himself where? That'd be an awesome addition, because I've seen that kid play high school and college. There's a lot there, but you got to be able to entice these guys to come here and spend the money that you said that you have to spend, and they've spent it. I do like the addition of Kobe Knox, but is Kobe Knox going to be enough? Elijah Strong was a solid player at Boston College, but are those guys going to be enough to make you contend in the SEC? I don't think so. And there's still, again, there's guys there, but you just got to have an all-out effort to get a lot of them, And think about it this way, Jay. This week, Ole Miss picked up A.J. Storr from Kansas. Now, granted, A.J. Storr is one of those kids that went to 4 high schools in 4 years. He's now on college number 4 in 4 years of college, right?
Right.
But he was Wisconsin's leading scorer, was one of the best players in the Big Ten a year ago or 2 years ago. Did not have a great year at Kansas at all, but is still a massive talent that can absolutely help you because he knows how to score the basketball. He just didn't fit in at Kansas. And frankly, there's wasn't as many shot creators on that Kansas team. That's why they really underperformed. That's a whole other rabbit hole. But A.J. Storr was available, and Ole Miss got him. What can Ole Miss provide that South Carolina cannot? And that's kind of where I'm kind of stuck when it comes to men's basketball, because you should be able to recruit with Ole Miss.
Well, and that I don't want to have that topic to that conversation today, because you and I have had it, and I've told you. I mean, you and I have been working together now for a couple of years, but I'm going back a large portion of my life, and I just say I don't quite understand where the disconnects are when it comes to support for basketball at South Carolina. And again, maybe I'm missing something, because I certainly have asked. So that raises a very excellent question as to what Mississippi is doing better than South Carolina. I don't know. And at this point, does it just become going out and getting a mercenary? And is that is that what you're left with? That, well, hey, we'll just give you more money, and then is that somebody that really wants to be here? And I don't know how much that matters anymore, quite honestly. But that's that's the hand we've been dealt at this point when it comes to trying to find guys. And like you said, you just might have to pony up even more at this point. And I don't know what the number was for Trace and Eaglestaff. We may never know that. And like we said, we don't know that he's definitely decommitted because of money. Again, cynically, I suppose, in today's world, that may be where people's minds are. We'll find out. We'll talk more about this. Got some football to get into, some updates on what's going on with the Braves and Blue Jays. You're listening to the Wednesday postgame show from Columbia and Hilton Head. One of the things you hear a lot about on our radio station are folks that can help you around your house, fixing stuff up, renovating, remodeling, building even, and just getting things done to make your life a whole lot easier. Well, if you are that homeowner looking to make some of those improvements, you got to pay for it. And one great way to do it is with a home equity line of credit through Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. And unlike the big banks, you will pay lower rates and fewer fees when you get this whole ball rolling. And because it's a line of credit, you can open it up, access it as you need it over a 10-year draw. So, get the kitchen updated, maybe a new bathroom, maybe put a deck out back to just have more fun outdoors, whatever the needs, you can do it, and you can do it for less with Palmetto Citizens. Apply today online at palmettocitizens.org, or better yet, stop in and talk to the great pros at any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. They've been in business nearly 90 years. They know the Midlands. They'll know you and your family and your neighborhood. Check them out. That's our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Again, talking our top story today, the disappointing news for South Carolina men's basketball. A big-time commit, Trayson Eaglestaff of North Dakota, decommitting this morning is when the news broke. Where he lands remains to be seen. And, look, nobody is just going, yay, this current system that we're operating in, which really is not even a system, Elijah, is great. If it's about more money, it's hard to say, well, that's a bad decision, right?
Right. You get offered a raise somewhere. Usually you go where that raise is.
Yeah. And so I suppose that, and I bring this up now because I've been thinking about it as you've outlined the hit statistically or production wise that this could mean for Carolina. But and hear me out. Like, again, I don't know yet. So, okay. We're having a live on air discussion of these things. But if it was about money and that's it, do you at least give, in this case, South Carolina a chance to come back up to another number as part of the negotiating process? Or might that lead some of us to believe that this could be as much about basketball as anything else? I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to defend anybody or whatever. I'm having this, I'm thinking out loud, if you will, about all of this. But I just, if it's, because I don't, as I've told you before, man, as we all get older, we all get a little more cynical just because we've seen the ways of the world, and you just understand sometimes that bad crap happens. Right. And you just, oh, well, it happens. But I'm wondering, is that a plausible way to look at it? Is that something where, well, if it was only about the money, you might have had a chance to do something about that. And instead, could it be if he goes, because again, you and I were, when we saw this story, I think we both kind of got a little wide-eyed 2 weeks ago. We're like, whoa.
And that's because it was a splash.
It was a splash. It's like, you saw 4 schools on the list, and 3 of them were Gonzaga, Kansas, and Kentucky.
Tells you what everybody thinks about
it. And South Carolina was the 4th. And it's like, wow, what a great job they did in getting him. And apparently they did. Apparently the weekend, as you've already kind of pointed out, it went quickly. It was a whirlwind, and it went well, and that's great. But upon further reflection, was there something else? And maybe that's what we're looking at here, and not just about the money. Again, I don't know yet. I do think we'll find some of this out.
Which also not limiting, or I guess throwing out the possibility of maybe a lot of these kids aren't good negotiators, and the people they work with aren't good negotiators, right? Because you raised the question, if somebody else is offering more money, wouldn't you give the school you're at the opportunity to meet that, or maybe even surpass it to keep you there? If he just got an offer somewhere else, through whatever back channels existed for him, yeah, he could say, you know what? Yeah, I'm taking that impulsively, right? And that's something I think happens in college athletics very frequently. Even though, like, if I were giving this kid advice, I'd say, okay, well, you got that offer. If you really care about playing at South Carolina, I would give them a chance to match it, or maybe they could even, one up it, right?
Surpass it. Yeah,
surpass
it, sure.
that. And it's kind of like it's apples and oranges, but like, you think Nico Iamaleava is getting great advice right now? I think he's getting terrible advice. There's a good chance he is going to take a pay cut at another school nowhere near SEC caliber. That's a real possibility for him right now. I know he's got a do not contact tag in the portal, but no announcement has been made and no reports have come out about leads on where he might go. And honestly, when the 2 best football fits on the schools are originally listed after he got, parted ways with Tennessee, were UCLA, North Carolina. North Carolina already publicly said that they're not going to pursue him anymore. UCLA reportedly, from Pete Nakos and On3 today, not willing to meet the $4 million goal that they have in mind, the Iamaleava camp has in mind, and won't probably be able to reach even the $2.2 million he was making at Tennessee. So he might have gotten bad advice out of a payday and lost money and an opportunity, right? So it's not like all these kids are getting exceptional advice. A lot of this is so much done on a whim and almost impulsively to the point where they're going to make a mistake. I'm not saying it's a mistake for Eagle staff to leave South Carolina, because if he goes to a better opportunity and makes more money, then like ultimately you can't blame him. But it just goes back to that question you raised, which is a valid one. If you are getting that offer, and it makes sense from a negotiation tactic to just bring that back to the school you're at right now and see if they can match it or raise it.
Yeah, and that's why, and like I say, we don't know yet. But I'm just starting as we're having this discussion live on the air, and this is still news that is basically 6 hours old. I'm just starting to come around to, perhaps in this particular instance, that there was some level of conversation somewhere from a school or a program that is just a little bit better poised to showcase him, or is just in a better spot than Carolina. And no Carolina fan wants to hear that. And again, I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like in this case, maybe there's some of this, and I won't put any percentages on it from 0 to 100, but I feel like there's maybe some of this that is basketball related. Now, if, for instance, Elijah, we hear that it's West Virginia or Iowa, where there's two brand new head coaches, it may make a lot less sense to some of us around here than if it's North Carolina or Kentucky or Kansas or Gonzaga, right?
Especially knowing what I know about Iowa. Like with the money situation, they're like one, like if not the worst in the Big Ten, they're one of like the 2 or 3 worst when it comes to NIL support for their men's basketball program.
Yeah, but could that be, and I'm serious when I say this, so hear me out, could it be because Iowa is significantly closer to his family?
Also,
again, I don't know. And he's not going to Iowa. We don't know where he's going. Again, I don't want anybody to read too far into this. I think what we all do, and we talk about this a lot, no matter what it is, as humans, we want answers. We want to know why. And so we attempt, without knowing, to speculate in order to justify, the ends, so we don't know. And at this point, it really will turn our attention more. I think you've already started it, Elijah, to, what Carolina can do next and just what this means. And one of the things that I alluded to earlier that I wanted to ask you, and I will now, is how much more potential pressure, if that's the right way to put it, that this puts on young Eli Ellis. Because as we said, we kind of joked when Eagle staff committed, like, whoa, okay, you're bringing back Michi, who's never met a shot he doesn't like. Eli Ellis is a kid you've had committed to you for a couple of years of high school ball, doesn't have a shot he doesn't like, and Eagle staff is a volume shooter. That's a lot of and unless I'm wrong, Elijah, it's still only one basketball, right?
They have not changed that rule yet.
So, okay. So
there are, and I learned not the Globetrotters. I learned from watching Airbud that there are no rules that say a dog can't play basketball. None.
Sure.
Doesn't exist.
Now, sometimes in a Globetrotters Generals game, there might be a second basketball, and somehow the Globetrotters always get away with it. Somehow. And the Generals never seem to be the ones that get the benefit of that. But in all seriousness, does it put more, in your opinion, on Eli Ellis coming in next season? And is Lamont prepared to have a freshman be somebody who may be if not your leading scorer, your leading shot taker?
And you need a shot creator too. I mean, Michi at times can do a really good job of getting his own shot. From the clips I've seen of Eli Ellis in the games, at Overtime Elite, he creates his own shot really well. You're going to have guys that are really good at creating for others. I don't know if you've brought that in. Mm-hmm. I don't think you've brought that in at the SEC level. That's going to be adequate to winning games, because we saw exactly how much the loss of Talon Cooper hurt them this year. You just didn't have enough shot creators, right? And Colin was a shot creator, but that's not enough of one to be able to have a healthy functioning offense. I really, would not feel confident, and Eli Ellis can end up coming in his first year and being immediately what this, coaching staff envisioned for him to be right off the bat. And this is not a knock on Eli, but it's any true freshman point guard or shooting guard starting in the SEC in 2025 is at a disadvantage. Any team that starts them is at a disadvantage, because it's going to take you a while for them to get acclimated. And every team that you're playing is old and a lot older, and sometimes bigger and stronger too. That's just you wouldn't feel great starting the season that way.
Well, we'll continue to follow and see, where this story takes us. But it's certainly a big blow in a crucial offseason. And it's kind of weird that we're looking at two, using that same adjective, crucial, two crucial off seasons. The one that Carolina men's basketball finds itself in right now, and certainly soon enough here, it seems the one that Carolina baseball will be looking at when it comes to adding talent to get back to a place of prominence in the SEC. Lots more to do on the postgame show. Okay. Welcome back in. Postgame Show rolling along on a Wednesday from the beautiful Sea Pines Resort on Hilton Head, site of the RBC Heritage, which officially gets underway tomorrow. Today was the Heritage Pro-Am. Amongst the participants was South Carolina head football coach Shane Beamer, who I had a chance to speak with this morning. And I have now found out that Coach Beamer will have an opportunity to speak with us about his round of golf.
That's exciting.
Coming up in about 10 minutes. So please stay tuned for that. Although I think we'll talk about golf and about Shane Beamer's newest assistant coach.
That's right. New trick play coordinator.
Elijah Campbell. That's right.
Like so many titles around here, it's one that I simply just gave myself. So but it is applicable. He is on board.
One note, I want to come back around because I think it all intertwines ultimately. Even though the station's Twitter poll question today is maybe more directly related to football, but I do think collegiate athletics could be
grouped into this.
The subject matter. Yeah. But Mac hits us on the Firehouse Subs text line. And this is interesting. He says, do me one favor. Everybody that is complaining, would they want their son or daughter to get paid the most they could? The window is small. He says, yeah, they would, Mac. And I think that's very fair. And that's what makes this hard. This is, yes, whether it's you, the parent, or you, the student athlete in this case, or you, the employee, again, look, there are some of us out there who may really say, listen, I just thank you for the opportunity to pay me more money, but I like it where I am. And if that means making less money than having to move or uproot my family or go somewhere I've never been or whatever else the situation is, then so be it. There are absolutely others, Elijah. And it doesn't mean you're greedy. Doesn't mean you're, as I used a term I used earlier, a mercenary. But yes, others will say, you going to pay me more than the other guy? I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, is it right or wrong? Right and wrong here. I don't, that's a Fletch charcoal gray area, my man. I just,
that lies in the eye of the decision maker. Oftentimes those type of decisions.
But I think Mac, that's a fair question, man. And he, by the way, he chimed in with one more. He says, the rich people are trying their best to make football win, and you have a bunch to keep women's basketball at the top. Texas, UCLA, UConn. But and maybe he says in so many words, men's basketball and baseball are getting a short straw. I don't know. We'll find that out, Matt. But again, as I mentioned earlier, men's basketball is in a crucial offseason and an offseason in which a new athletics director is in town. Soon enough, that athletics director will also be helping lead a crucial offseason for the baseball team here at South Carolina. And South Carolina's resources are not Texas's resources or Georgia's resources, or schools like that. Even, Florida's going through a lot, but Florida's got resources, and on I could go. So, yeah, it's a tough time. But this decision, again, I'm starting, Elijah, for my own point of view, my own opinion, I'm just starting to drift with the Eagle staff situation specifically, starting to drift towards basketball playing a bigger role in this, and that it's not all about the money. If we find something out that's different, so be it. I don't know, but and could it be both? Yeah. Is it probably both? Yeah, probably.
I mean, and where he goes is going to be the answer to that, because if it is like a West Virginia or an Iowa or something like that, where like a different Power Four, but not at the money-making level that South Carolina is, maybe one with a smaller NIL fund, then that would clearly not be money-based, right? But if it's someone like a North Carolina or a Kansas or a Kentucky, they have the money to get whoever they want. So that can still lead you to believe that played a factor, plausibly, right? But also from a basketball standpoint, like, look, the University of Kentucky and the University of South Carolina have two significantly different basketball histories. Would not blame anybody for wanting to play at Kentucky. I wouldn't blame anyone for taking a pay cut to play at Kentucky, right? Because of just how significant it is culturally in the game of basketball. or a Kansas or a Duke or North Carolina. Like that would still make sense where they can offer both basketball opportunity and money, and we'd still not get a clear picture. But if it does end up boiling down to him going somewhere with resources lesser than you, then we can rule out money at that point.
Right. Well, we'll see. Again, we'll have more on this story, perhaps even a little more inclination as to what the future holds, both for Trace and Eagle staff and for Lamont Paris and Carolina basketball. Our buddy Alan Cole is going to join us at 5:15. He's been doing a lot of digging on this. But on the other side of this break, the head football coach and a fantastic golfer. I mean, he was in the Pro-Am today. I saw him playing a little golf. Shane Beamer will join us coming up. So keep it right here on the Postgame Show. No matter what you're watching, you can do it better with integrated media. And right now is a fantastic time to call the guys and get everything done in your home. Maybe you're building or remodeling right now. Let integrated media. They sent a video. I retweeted it the other day of them installing a very difficult job. And they did it with such precision that you'd hardly ever know they were there. Listen, I saw what they did in my house when we were remodeling, and thank God we worked with them ahead of time. That's all I'm going to say. But no matter what it is, when it comes to home theater, home security, do it right, do it once, do it with integrated media. Thinking about an outdoor system this time of year especially, 803-948-8327. They'll get it done for you. One room, whole house, upgrade the equipment, get the security done, Wi-Fi that works everywhere. Nobody better than integrated media. Once again, 803-948-8327. Watch it all better, do it all better, listen all better with integrated media. All right, 4:00 on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We appreciate you being with us. Split duty this week. Elijah is back home in Columbia in the Herndon Chevy Studios. Yours truly here adjacent to the beautiful Harbor Town golf links, not too far from the 18th green at this point. And again, Mr. Campbell, a Chamber of Commerce day. Again, barely a cloud in the sky, 68 degrees. And I would like to go play golf. Would you allow me to just leave right now and go play golf?
Only if you take your phone with you, and I can do a play-by-play of each shot.
Okay. Well, I was going to do that with our next guest.
Yeah, if you came back the next day and you're like, I shot a 72, no one's going to believe you. I have to be the barrier between the truth and what you put out.
Here's the thing. I'm glad you said that because that's where I was going to go. I was going to do that with our next guest, but then I thought he would be embarrassed when I said, hey, that he shot a 65 today. I don't really know what he shot, but if I said Shane Beamer shot a 65, Coach joins us now. I mean, Coach, you'll just say, yeah, Jay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it definitely sounds good, Jay, but there's enough people that know my golf game and would know that that's a complete lie as well that are listening right now. But you're exactly right. It was a beautiful day down there. I wish I was still where you are right now because I know where you're set up and what an amazing spot. But fun time down there earlier, and we had some good shots and certainly some not so memorable shots as well.
Now you got to play with Matthew Pavon today. So now the smart aleck in me would have asked him how to say a lot of bad words in French when I hit a bad shot. Did you do any of that today?
I did not. I probably should have. That would be a great idea. No, we talk more golf and it's cool how they set it up down there. You play, the amateurs play 9 holes with a pro and then you play 9 more with another pro. So when I saw you earlier, I was playing with Pavone, and then the second 9 got to play with Maverick McNeely, and that was a great time as well. So it was really fun being out there and great seeing you for sure. And man, there's so many Gamecocks down there. It was awesome. I feel like every hole there were multiple Go Gamecocks yelling at us as well, which was awesome.
Can we get a scouting report on your golf game? I mean, like what Shane Beamer got? What Shane Beamer's strengths and weaknesses on the course? Now that we're diving into it.
I wish I could tell you. I got to think long and hard about the strengths. I love the game of golf. That would be a strength, but after that, I'm not really sure. So I was hot and cold today, certainly, but had some memorable holes and on a couple of the par 3s, had some memorable shots and got enough work hitting off the pine straw and out of the rough that got pretty good on that one. But somebody kidded with me there. One of the people I was playing with, Elijah, they said, for as positive a guy as you are about your football team and as a head coach, you sure are negative to yourself as a golfer. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I need to quit yelling at myself and being so negative when I do have a bad shot. I need to be more positive like I try and be as the head football coach.
Well, it's what a great opportunity this is, and I love this course. And I know you've done this. You've pretty much been here every year that you've been the head coach, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier. This was my third year doing it. I don't think I did it my first. Maybe I can't remember. I think it was my third year. Now that I'm thinking about it, so played last year with Corey Connors and Austin Eckroat, and then I know the year before I played with Wesley Bryan when Wesley was in it, and I can't remember past that. So I think it's the last 3 years, but as long as I'm here in Columbia and I'm invited, I'll always be down there. It's such a great event for the state of South Carolina. It's such a great event for Hilton Head and the surrounding areas. Steve Wilmot, the tournament director, does such an amazing job putting it on, and it's really cool just being out there with the name guys on the PGA Tour as well. So a lot of fun to be a part of, and as I said, it's so great for the people that can come out, and it was awesome seeing so many Gamecocks out there today as well. It was packed with Gamecocks.
Yeah, it is, man. And I'm glad you mentioned Steve Wilmot, because I think he is a hero for the state of South Carolina for the work that he did with his team to get this event to become a signature event. And you mentioned all the big names. I'm just curious, one last thing. Whether you want me to say this or not, or embarrass you or not, I'm going to. You are a big celebrity. You're obviously a successful head football coach in the Southeastern Conference, and you've been around famous people your whole life. But do you like a lot of us, when you see a Scotty Scheffler and Adam Scott, a Jordan Spieth, you go, whoa, that's Scotty Scheffler. Whoa, that's Adam Scott. Whoa, that's Jordan Spieth. There's Masters winners all over the place.
Yeah, no, I certainly do, and you're exactly right, and that's a testament to one, Steve Wilmot, and the field that he's put together by it being a signature or elevated event. But yeah, no, that doesn't get old, especially as a dad now, Jay. Like my son Hunter, he went with me to the Masters, and he's got those fans and he's got those guys that he looks up to and was dying to get fist bumps from last week over in Augusta. So to be able to see those guys today, I'm a fan too. I mean, they're all younger than me, but they're the best in the world at what they do. So yeah, Justin Thomas was playing in the group in front of me today. Tony Finau was playing in the group behind me. I think Scotty Scheffler was 3 groups ahead of me as well. But just to be able to, see those guys and watch them, I mean, they're the best in the world at what they do. So yes, I'm fanboy in a lot of ways, but I'm also very much just admire them because they're at the top of their game. And then I'm able to, golf is different, than football, but there's a lot of questions I can ask. Well, I love playing with them and getting to know them, but also just being able to pick their brains on stuff too about why they're successful. That's helpful also.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get Tony Finau's autograph for Elijah. That's his favorite.
Yes.
But I did see a kid today, younger than your son, that had bought one of the pin flags, Shane, and he had just gotten Scotty Scheffler's autograph. And the kid, his face is going to hurt. I saw him with his dad. His face is going to hurt. The smile was so big. And his dad says to him, and I love this, Elijah, you'll love this too. He says, man, to the kid, the dad says, that's fire. And I was like, yeah, there you go. Like there's a dad saying that to the kid, but the kid could not stop grinning because he knew who he had just met and gotten an autograph from. And it was pretty neat. Speaking of Elijah,
just to see, the impact you can have on young people. I see the impact that these pro golfers, can have on my son. And certainly I'm, cognizant of that in the role that I'm in also as well, that, in one instance, you can really, like you're saying about that kid that got Scheffler's autograph, be a memory that he'll remember for a lifetime, and don't lose sight of that.
Yeah, no, again, I'm telling you, that kid's face is going to hurt. He was smiling so big. It was my wife and I were like, that is what it's about. So that was that was very cool. Again, Coach Beamer with us here, played in the Pro-Am this morning, the spring game on Friday. Have you talked with your newest assistant coach, Elijah Campbell, about what he will and will not be able to do to either help or hurt your football team on Friday night?
No, there's really there's no restrictions on what Elijah wants to get done. So I'm eager to see as well. Now, if it's too creative and too wild, it may be tough to execute if it's nothing we've never done before. But I'm eager, and we've got a few things that we've got to attack. First of all, we've got our draft for the spring game tonight as a team at 7:30. We're doing that over at our facility, so that's always a lot of fun. And having the guys pick the team so we know who the Garnet team is and who the Black team is. And then once we get those teams solidified, now we can, really get busy on team strategizing how to win and who Elijah is going to be able to help try and win the game.
See, for knowing your personnel is a big key. So I'm going to be locked in on these draft results here. I'm going to have a little board myself. We'll get in the lab. We'll get creative, maybe a little dark. But we're going to achieve something special, and that's why when I answered the phone for Shane, I did have to establish myself as world-renowned trick play coordinator. I did not tell him where that title came from. It came from me, or what my play calling experience entails. It's a video game, but if I just throw that out there on the resume right there, it might trick him into being like, "Oh wow, he's got something up his sleeve."
No, but you said it with such conviction, Elijah, that I couldn't help but just say, you know what, like this guy's not messing around, and he's clearly who he says he is. So I respect that.
working in concert security for years, I learned that, you can get past any type of security if you just act like you know what you're doing. You just pretend like you're supposed to be there, and you can dupe a lot of people. It's a life lesson that I have taken well beyond my years with a security license.
I look forward to this. I'll be down here still, but I will hope, Coach, to get video as quickly as possible sent to me from Williams-Brice,
especially after it scores, because it's going to score. It's going to score.
Oh yeah, no, I want this thing. I want this thing to work desperately. I know you got things to do, so before you go, I want to hit you with something. Elijah and I had this idea yesterday. Now you can't do it tonight because it's too soon, but you have your draft tonight. And to be serious for a minute, you mentioned how important that is as kind of a bonding night for your team every year, which I think is very cool. But you're not technically the head coach of the Garnet or Black team. It's still your program. But this makes you, for a night, we feel, kind of like a commissioner. So what Elijah and I said is that you work with Justin King this time next year, and you become the Roger Goodell, and you bro hug everybody as they get drafted. Y'all have a big pomp and circumstance kind of a thing, and you make this like a real draft event. Can we get that pulled off next year where you become Mr. Bro Hug?
Yeah, that's essentially what we do, and you've got the wheels turning, and maybe we turn this into some sort of like fan event too. But no, we do a great job. Justin King, Joe Lyle, it's in charge of video. Everybody's got a hand in this. I mean, we make it like the NFL draft. It's really cool. I mean, we'll have the players in a big room just like they would be if they were at the NFL draft. Our two head coaches are Derek Moore and George Wynn. Derek Moore has the first pick. So Derek Moore will pick up the phone from somewhere in the building, and he'll actually call the person that he's drafted and ask him if he's ready to be the first pick and ready to be a member of the Black team as well. And then they come up to the front. I announce the pick. They come up to the front. I give them a number 1 jersey for being the number 1 draft pick. We bro hug, we take picks, and we also have the NFL draft music that, the little jingle when every pick is in.
Yeah.
So we have a ton of fun with it, and we don't do anything half what around here. I mean, we go all out, so it's a fun event, and our guys have a great time with it as well. So we're always looking for ways to get it better. And I am the commissioner tonight, and certainly there's ways to increase the excitement about this next year as well.
Yeah, I just don't want one of your 300-pound linemen just jumping into you, though. That's the only thing that scares me about like Commissioner Goodell too. It's like these are big young men. So
that's right.
That part of
that's
it,
right.
Yeah, to look forward to. Hey, appreciate it. Good to see you this morning. Have fun on Friday, and maybe in all seriousness, in a couple of years, we'll actually have a real spring game. I know that's something that we've talked about before, the year before, but for now, we have the Garnet and Black game Friday night at Williams-Brice, free to everybody. And again, Elijah Campbell, somewhere along the way, will be calling a play. But thanks for putting up with us, man. It's always fun. We appreciate you.
No, you guys are the best. Great seeing you today as well. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. It'll be awesome down there. And Elijah, I'll be seeing you soon.
That's right. We have some strategy.
There
no
go.
question.
Score. Mark it down. It's going to score.
We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet. That's Coach Shane Beamer. Good stuff. All right. And now, you know what I'm going to do the rest of the day? As long as you remind me, I'm going to call you Coach.
You have to now. Yeah. I'm Coach Elijah Campbell for a spring game.
Coach Campbell.
That's right. And I'm going to do, like Henry Winkler and the Water Boy. He's got like that big old notepad. That's his playbook.
Right.
We're going to run a fake. No, we're going to fake the fake. That's going to be, that's me for the next 48 hours. I got a marker board in my room that I just write show ideas and stuff on, and just, whatever organization I need to do for the week. That is now the drawing board. That is exclusively the play calling drawing board.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I do want to see what this thing looks like. And again, you got to send it to me as quickly as possible. All right. Again, thanks to Coach Beamer. We appreciate his time. We got some Gamecock football to get into. Coordinators and players have spoken. We'll get into some of that for you too. And our poll question of the day that revolves around some of the things that have happened around college athletics here of late. And again, in about an hour's time, more on the basketball situation with our good friend Alan Cole of Gamecock Scoop. It's the Wednesday postgame show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Wednesday afternoon. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell broadcasting live. Yours truly is, at least, from Sea Pines Resort. And the Heritage getting underway tomorrow on the Harbortown Golf Links. Elijah back downtown. Coach Elijah Campbell is back downtown.
That's right. Official title.
Just start calling you coach from this point forward. But if you didn't understand what all that meant, a couple of weeks ago, we were just kind of brainstorming on the air and vamping as we often do. And one thing led to another. And Elijah was like, I really want to call a play. And like, it'd be fun to call a play at the Carolina spring game.
Would spice things up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we reached out to the football building, and we got an affirmative. And then it was officially announced this week through the head coach that this was going to happen. So here we are, Coach Campbell.
It's happening. Calling a play.
But we're not going to tell. Yeah, we're not going to tell what the play is because that'll give
not.
And I don't even know. Have you officially been assigned a team yet? I think that's one of the important questions, right?
I have not. I've not been assigned a team yet, but I want to pay close attention to the personnel of both teams, and then have one for each. I want to be as fully prepared as humanly possible.
Good.
And have two unique plays that would be that applicable for either team based off of the personnel.
The fake to fake thing that could be something, but I don't know. And again, you might not be allowed to do it. I suppose there is veto power from a head coach.
Yes,
somewhere along the way. Right?
As it happens, in the communication on a game to game basis, sometimes a coach is like, okay, let's not run that. But what I want to propose something I know he's not going to refuse. He's going to be like, wow, this is gold. And when it scores, the real question is the question's not whether or not the play will be successful, because it will be, but when it is successful, do I keep my shirt on? I don't know. I can't make any promises. I know for our Gamecock traditions over under contest, we've been floating around the idea of making it, is Elijah going to call a pass or a run? That might not be as 50-50 as me removing my shirt after it goes for 6, because it's going to go for 6.
Right. I hear you. Well, that's good.
It's going to be a madman. It's going to be great.
Still a family environment for the most part. So just remember some of those things. We'll get back to some Gamecock.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll get back into some Gamecock football here in just a few, but we do have some developing news on the Nico Iamaleava situation. Yes, sir?
We do. Yeah. Colin Cowherd tweeted earlier today. He says, quote, I am told moments ago, Nico Iamaleava is going to UCLA. Family still claims it's not about the money. It's about the Vol offense. I was not told what the Bruins are paying. So if he hears that from a family member and they're not willing to disclose how much he's making, you know what that tells me, Jay Phillips? He's taking a pay cut to play at UCLA.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I don't know a lot about what UCLA is going to look like offensively this coming season. That is one of the, in my opinion, bigger underachievers relative at least to environment, maybe not always resources in college football, just because, again, you're in Los Angeles. Now UCLA, you look at Southern Cal and UCLA, and they're huge rivals and have been have been for generations, where Southern Cal's always been the football school, and when Southern Cal had a whole bunch of Heisman winners in the 60s and 70s and into the early 80s, UCLA was winning titles with Coach Wooden. So, one was a football school, one was a basketball school, but UCLA could be a really good football school if they wanted to be. I just don't know how much they
had some success.
They want to be. But I would find it hard to believe that Nico Iamaleava feels that he can't be successful in what Josh Heupel wants to do, because I think Josh has been good with his quarterbacks, whether it's been down at UCF or now in Knoxville.
Got a great track record.
Yeah, and he was a great quarterback himself, which doesn't always translate. Don't get me wrong. We talk about Steve Spurrier being not a unicorn per se, but I still believe, right? Coach Spurrier is the only one to win a Heisman and coach a Heisman winner. I think that's still the case, unless I'm forgetting somebody somewhere along the way. But regardless, Josh Heupel's good with his quarterbacks, man. And I mean,
It's a
Tennessee made the
quarterback-friendly
playoff.
offense.
Yeah, I mean, they made the playoff because you got James Pierce leading that defense. I get it, and you had a good run game, but a good run game supports a good quarterback. I look. I don't know. I'm not going to say that the Iamaleavas are lying, but I find it like, okay, so you're going to go from a known system to kind of an unknown. It's not going to get any easier from a conference strength standpoint, in my opinion. Maybe a touch. I don't know. I don't know UCLA's schedule, so I know who Tennessee played last year, but I don't know, man. Finding it kind of hard to buy into. It's the system, not the money.
Yeah, if we're playing buy or sell here, I am selling that in an absolute heartbeat, right? I mean, like if you felt good enough about the offense to re-enroll at the school after the December semester, ends, or after the month of December ends, and you have the freedom to go anywhere else, then you probably would have done it. If the offense was that bothersome to you, then that's probably a discussion you're having beforehand, and you're probably thinking, okay, well, when the season ends, I want to keep my, put my eyes towards an offense that's going to suit me or highlight my, passing ability even better. And he didn't do that. As a matter of fact, he waited till the last day of spring practice to not show up and then leave. And they kind of like the way they went about this cost him money, and it's going to cost him money.
Yeah.
And we did get a text on our text line, Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. It's from Thomas saying, how are we talking about parents wanting their kids paid as much as possible, then bashing the UTQB dad for trying to get more money? Easy answer here, Thomas. That's because the way they went about it actually will cost him money, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no way, if UCLA, if what Colin Cowherd was told is true, and UCLA ends up getting Nico Iamaleava, I guarantee you it's not for $4 million. I can almost guarantee you it's not even for $2.5 million. So you created all of this uproar. You've created a news story. You've tried to get more money, and you've isolated yourself from many more opportunities, because there's significantly less opportunities for starting quarterback to get in than in the spring transfer portal window than the winter transfer portal window. Because when the winter transfer portal window opens up, so many teams, significantly more teams, have quarterback openings. And you know what they do here in the winter portal window, Jay? They get quarterbacks, and they get a plan, right? Like Oklahoma knew they're going to need a quarterback. John Mateer, bam, problem solved. No, there's like the amount of schools looking for QBs are just not as there as much in the spring. So you choose the spring portal window to do this. Dumb. You try to basically use your words, and I agree with it as well, extort Tennessee into giving you more money. Dumb, because that's just going to get you pushed out. And now you have limited options in schools, limited options in the offenses that you are desiring to get into, and you're going to be working with schools that don't have the bank accounts adequate enough to give you more than $2.2 million a year. And so because of that, we're not dogging them because of their decision to try to make more money. We're dogging them because of how they do it and how they did it, and how it's more than likely going to fail and him lose more money in the long
run. How they did it, and Elijah, just to further your point, when they did it. So Thomas, I get what you're saying, man. I'm not, but it's not as we said, it's not what they wanted. It's how they went about it and when they went about it. They did this at the 11th hour on purpose. They thought they had Tennessee over a barrel by waiting until the last day of spring practice, not counting a spring game, the last day, so basically practice 14 he holds out, because practice 15 is officially the spring game, right? That's how that works. They waited until then. Nico was at a dinner with the offensive coordinator and a lot of the guys on the offensive side of the ball Thursday night, and they do this Friday. So that, Thomas, that's what it is, man. It's the how and the when. It's not the what. I think we can all support the what, because that's understandable. Dare I say, that's America. Sure. That's America. Maximize who you are and what your value is. I got zero issue with that. But I do have a big issue with when they did it and how they did it. Absolutely. That is what is the problem when it comes to the Iamaleavas at UT. All right, we'll get into some Gamecock football. But thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Anybody else wants to weigh in, please do. Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. A lot more to do. We'll get into some Gamecocks as the postgame show rolls on.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways, including one on Clemson Road at Hardscrabble Road, Glen Road at US 321, Highway 1 at Augusta Road between Watling Road and I-26, Highway 60 near Columbiana Drive, 2 accidents on 77 northbound, one after Forest Drive at exit 12, the other at US 21 near exit 24. We also have accidents on St. Andrews Road at Bush River Road and on Westcott Road at Bush River Road.
We've been talking some spring football. We're talking some golf, talking a little Braves. We got a lot of things going on today. Thanks to Shane Beamer, who joined us earlier. And in the last segment, talking about Nico Iamaleava, who last week left Tennessee or was dismissed, or it was mutual, whatever, however you might want to look at it. And we had a question because earlier we had talked about we had another texter hit us and say, hey, if you're a parent, aren't you doing everything you can to maximize your kid's potential? Yeah. You are, and in a lot of instances that's perfectly fine. And again, none of us ever blamed the Iamaleavas for wanting to maximize anything Nico could get. Now I think they might have overshot it with their at least perceived value, but we just had somebody ask us, well, how can you bash Nico's dad and not some others? And like we said, it's because you did it at the 11th hour on purpose. You thought, oh well, yeah, well, let's just watch this. They need us more than we need them. And I would never have thought that.
No.
I don't even know. Listen, I'm sure there's somebody in between, Elijah, but honestly, like the only guy I could think of in recent enough memory where you might've been like gulp on something like that is like Cam at Auburn. Or something like that, where you just, and even, and that's, you can't really use that example because Cam only had the 1 year, and really it wasn't until like those games against Carolina and Clemson, or really, I guess, Clemson, then Carolina, around that first part of the year where people started to realize, oh my goodness.
Oh, this guy's transcendent.
And then, a month later, it's like, not sure we've ever really seen anybody like this in college football, because pretty much you hadn't. And now you maybe haven't seen that again. So I'm not going to say that's the only one, but I think again, it's the timing of how this went down. On that note, I know we have a poll question today, and I guess Tyler put this one out. That revolves a little bit, Elijah, around what's happening with I guess the Nico situation isn't necessarily the impetus for the question, but the latest major example of the question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a byproduct of everything. And this is the question that, we posed on 1075 The Game's Twitter account at 1075 The Game, and it's pinned to the top of the profile. So if you want to find it and vote, but it more asks you about, does this impact maybe your interests? So the question is, does the current state of college football, NIL portal, etc., cause you to be less invested / interested in the sport as a whole? Yes or no? And with 130 votes so far, 78% say yes. Only 22% say no.
I'd vote no.
I voted no. Yeah, I voted no as well. It doesn't change my interest.
No, I love college football. I don't like what's currently happening around it, but I'm also, again, let me ask it like this, because you and I have done this before. Who you mad at? Right? I mean, is it, if you're mad at everybody, that's probably, again, I don't tell anybody how to feel, but I do give my opinion. If you're mad at everybody, okay, this was avoidable. But I don't even in the Nico situation, because again, I think Nico's being led by his father, and again, timing of their situation at UT is my big issue, not their desire for more. Although again, read the room sometimes might be some good advice for people, right? But once you get to Saturday, the passion for the games, the want for your team to do well, or if it's not your team, because Tyler made a good point about this question. If your team has played its game on that given Saturday, are you as invested in, a top 10 matchup? If you play the noon game, are you going to watch the top 10 3:30 game, or, whatever, any other time slot? Or even if you play late, you're going to watch one early, or are you only about your team? And a lot of people might only be about their team or school, Elijah, and that's fine too. Heck, I know it's not college, but that's how I am with the Braves. I rarely, my God, it feels like the Yankees and Red Sox are on ESPN about once a week. I know that's not true.
Every
but it
Sunday
feels like
night, it feels like it.
Yeah. But I don't watch a lot. Sometimes I might tune in for a minute, but the only team I'm invested in is the Braves. But anyway, in college, and I listen, I like you, I watch tons of college football games that don't have my school involved.
Yep.
Because I love it, and I'll continue to. I don't like what's happening right now, but I know why it's happening. And I know it will ultimately, like anything else in a market-driven environment, begin to correct itself. Through what means, I'm not sure yet. So no, it hasn't diminished my interest. If anything, it's furthered my interest in making sure that the adults in the room begin to understand why this happened, and then do all they can to put their energy towards fixing it rather than complaining about it.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
And that's kind of where I'm at too, but I'll take it a little further. And in my opinion, nothing ever gets done and fixed. I think we're going to end up living with this for a long time. People say it's not sustainable, and it might not be for some, but for a lot of these programs, it will, and they'll just continue to live this way for a long time, because I just don't see any course of action outside of, collective bargaining that really changes this. And I think you're going to have to, rip the power over these, student athletes or athletes, whatever you want to call them, out of their cold dead hands, and they're going to go down fighting this fight. Like they're not accepting. Here's the thing: if there's a problem, Jay, like in maybe like a friendship or a relationship, and if in order to get past this problem, both parties need to understand what's been done wrong. If one party has done something wrong, has been doing something wrong, finally gets called out on it, but they're not willing to admit they were doing anything wrong, you're not going to mend that relationship. You're just not. And we've all been there, whether it be like significant others or just friends, whatever it may be. When conflict arises, if an offending party is not even willing to admit the error they had and keeps trying to bring things back to the status quo or what it was before the conflict happened, it's not going to happen without any type of acknowledgement that something needs to change and that you are the reason that it's messed up. That's where we're at with the NCAA. They're still trying to get antitrust exemptions. That's not going to work, because you're trying to bring back things down to a system that previously exploited the athletes involved in it. You're not going to get back there. And until the NCAA does the whole, oh, you know what, man, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I probably shouldn't have made that move, or done whatever that created this conflict, which of course we know in this is how they handled business and violated antitrust law. Until they can accept that they've done it and acknowledge they've done it, and that the old ways aren't coming back, that the ship has sailed, we are never getting a resolution. And what we live in right now, just got to live with it.
Well, you make a great point, and I don't have the quote in front of me. I'll try to find it during the break. I'm not going to search for it right this second. But I do remember in so many words in the Alston case that the NCAA lost 9-0 in the Supreme Court. Mark Emmert basically came out after that decision and in so many words said, well, we didn't really lose. There's just like a fundamental misunderstanding of what we're trying to do, and we're working to change some things. It's like, bro,
no, you lost
9-0 in the United States Supreme Court. It's so very rarely happens, but there again, it was just trying to cling on to that PR train. I told, speaking of train, I told Terry and Tyler earlier, Elijah, this was an out of control freight train. And that if they had, a few miles back, done something about it and pulled the switch so that the train could go on the other track. Instead they put up like, the piece of like plastic tape that runners run through on a track meet.
Or like those posters that football players run through on Friday nights at high school football games.
Yeah. They were trying to stop like a 90-mile-an-hour locomotive with that. And here we are. This is why. and the train, ran off the tracks and blew up. And thank God the conductor at least jumped out before the ultimate tragedy occurred. But no, I mean, that's what they were doing. And so you're right. They just, and I think Governor Baker has at least said, yeah, we got to fix some stuff. But I don't know that they've ever really, to your point, ever said, yeah, we're the ones that caused it. And remember too, man, to your point, and I know I got to hit a break here. In these current student athletes' lifetimes, not that they were in college when this happened, but in their lifetimes, remember, coaches could restrict them from transferring to any school they felt like it. I don't like green. You can't go to a school that plays in green. Whatever
My
the
ex-wife
reason, the most
attended that
absurd
school.
Yeah, you can't go there, and they could do it. Think about that. I mean, and as I've said before, this is not Russia. This is not China. This is America. And that's what they've been doing to these kids. So I'm with you. The power is coming back, and I'm fine with that. They'll ultimately meet somewhere. It may take a while, and I'm with you. A CBA is going to be the best way to go, but we'll figure it out. All right. Lots more to do. Get you into some Gamecock sound and updates on a few other things. Headlines of the day coming up, and Alan Cole in about a half hour talking more on this big Gamecock men's basketball situation. It's the Postgame Show. All right, 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Yours truly down on Hilton Head Island, getting ready for the Heritage, which gets underway bright and early tomorrow morning. Pro-Am today. Coach Shane Beamer joined us earlier. He was there. I got to see him this morning for a few minutes, he and Coach Paris, as they were taking part in their round. And Shane joined us at the top of the 4. And we've been talking a lot about the business of college sports, which has really dominated so much of the talk in our business all across the country for the last little bit. Elijah, I know you got another hit on the text line from what we were just discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a text from a nameless texter says, y'all are such smart asses, know-it-alls. I predict the NCAA returns to an amateur model. Courts will bend to public pressure.
I am a smart ass.
I am too. I claim that title. That's a title that I don't just give myself. I give myself a lot of titles, but
I do research a lot of things, so I wouldn't say I'm a know-it-all, but I do base my opinion on the facts that I study on a daily basis for my job. Let me tell you why that's not going to happen. First off, this latest situation, we the House settlement, House versus NCAA was a case, and then it was settled. Well, the settlement means both sides came to the table, and part of the settlement was an admission from and a willingness by the schools to begin to pay their players, period. Mm-hmm. They are now going to share the revenue, and schools like South Carolina, all the schools of the SEC, all the power conference schools this coming school year are going to share $20.5 million in revenue. Now, you can call it whatever you want, and currently it's not a salary, and currently the schools don't want it to be a salary, but they are sharing it. Does that make them amateurs still? If that's how you want to believe it, fine. But if you think that the amount of money coming in is ultimately not going to be shared and bending to public pressure.
If the courts were going to bend to public pressure, they would have done it in the Supreme Court. There is no courts bending to public pressure because the court cases are done. I'm not trying to start something with this particular guy that sent a text, and whether you send your name or not is up to you. But I don't know how. I think, sir or ma'am, you are basing what you said on the fact that you don't like what you hear, and that you individually don't want it, and so you think that public pressure is more on where you're coming from. Now, everybody, me, Elijah, Governor Charlie Baker, ADs, coaches all around, even players, all want a set of guidelines and rules put in place that makes this easier to manage. But if you try to go back again to the nameless texture, sir or ma'am, you are one of the people that I target when I say you clearly either don't understand or don't want to accept the fact that for generations, the NCAA's member institutions were breaking federal law routinely, breaking the laws of the United States of America. And they were finally slapped around by the judicial system and told you can't. So I do believe we will all get to a place that we're happier, but to pretend that we're going to go back to say, and what system are we going to go back to? What year? Draw me a line, nameless texture. What year do you want to go back to and then go backwards from? Seriously. I'm not trying to call you out or say I don't know who you are. I'm curious. You know who I am. Yeah, I'm curious about what your rationale is, because it's going to need backup.
And you know who my co-host is, but I what are you basing your feelings on other than your own personal feelings? I don't think you're basing it on the things that are actually happening. Most notably, the fact that the most wealthy schools of this nation agreed to settle a case in an effort to remain alive. And that the biggest part of that settlement was back pay to some former student athletes and a tremendous amount of revenue sharing with current and future student athletes. So again, what year do you want to go back to and start over from and believe that it's going to happen within the confines of the laws of the United States?
I just that's what we're trying to explain. And when I say we, I don't mean me and Elijah. Everybody. Again, this was a settlement, and if they hadn't settled, the number may have been double what they're going to pay, and it may have put college sports out of business. This settlement was intended to keep it alive
because of the cases that they've lost, and they were going to lose that one. Like that was a losing battle, and that's why you settle. So because you understand it's a losing battle. So like my biggest issue, I guess, with the text, like it's okay. You may not like it. I mean, I get annoyed with how the system is right now. It's just
that's what it is. That guy just doesn't like it, and that's fine. Don't like it. I get it. I get it. Yeah, Don't. I get it.
I just can't get too worked up knowing that this was a problem that the NCAA could have prevented and chose to ignore it for 20 years. And
fight it. They chose to fight it.
Chose to fight.
Yeah, they fought,
for 20 years. So
and then they got their butt kicked 9-0 in the Supreme Court, amongst other cases.
Like it's not ideal and it sucks, but that's just what the reality is. That's just what we live in.
Yeah. Headlines of the day. More on this disappointing Carolina basketball news. Alan Cole will join us coming up. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways. We'll start off with some good news, though. And that's that the accident that was on 26 westbound at Augusta Road has been cleared, so traffic moving more smoothly through that way. But we still have accidents on Westcott Road at Bush River Road, 3 on 77 northbound, 1 just after Forest Drive at exit 12, the other one just before Killian Road at exit 22, and the other one at US 21 near exit 24. So avoid 77 northbound if you can. Lastly, we have an accident on Clemson Road at Hardscrabble Road.
I am touching my earpiece like this. Breaking news, breaking news. Arsenal is advancing in the Champions League. All right, there you go. Welcome back in. It's the final hour of the post-game show along with Elijah Campbell.
About busted some speakers on that microphone whenever they scored that goal.
The first, well, they just scored again, my man. They just scored again right at the last. So it is all good. I'll get back to that in just a second. Thank you for being with us. I'm in Hilton Head covering the Heritage, which gets underway tomorrow morning. Elijah back home. Again, it was my turn. Elijah's been all over the place covering basketball, so I figured I'd get out of town for a couple of days and come do something myself. But looking forward to that tomorrow. In the meantime, though, we had some major breaking news today around South Carolina men's basketball. It was announced this morning that very recent portal commitment Trayson Eaglestaff of University of North Dakota has decommitted from South Carolina. We do not know at this point where he is going to school. But we know that he never really became a South Carolina Gamecock. This was a kid last year who was one of the top 50 scorers in all of Division I basketball, averaging just under 20 points a game, high-volume shooter, can distribute and rebound as well. He's 6'6", can play all over the place, Elijah. Really, I think at times he could probably play everywhere on the perimeter. And I don't know, at 6'6", you might even put him down on might even put him down on the block a little bit from time to time. But also dropped 40 on Alabama in a non-con game and scored more than 50 points in a tournament game, a conference tournament game. So this kid can play. He had initially chosen South Carolina over Kentucky, Kansas, Gonzaga, and many others, but those are certainly, three of the most prominent names, as all of us know, in all of men's college basketball. But today, and it was a nice statement that he put out. He said, this was a difficult decision, but after discussing this with my family, this is the best course of action for my future. Thank you to Coach Paris and the South Carolina staff for recruiting me during this process. At least a lot of rumors out there.
It's accurate. Yeah. He didn't say something like, Carolina will always be home after 2 weeks of being here. I'm going to miss wearing the Gamecock jersey for the one picture I got to take in it.
Yeah, he put the jersey on once and did the photo shoot, and I think he was maybe in Columbia for, 24, 36 hours, something like that. But it's difficult because, as you've pointed out, Elijah Campbell, it's that much harder at this point to fill that void, and it was one you certainly needed to. But in terms of production lost, as you said, South Carolina is in a, I don't want to say a world of hurt, but it was already difficult, and this makes it that much harder for Lamont to try and fix things through portal recruiting this spring.
Yeah, because you needed to really make some splashes in the portal because of all you're going to lose. I don't think, was there a possibility Colin Murray Boyles came back? Yeah, sure. I don't want to diminish that because I heard from multiple people that he loves the college experience. He loves Columbia, South Carolina. It's obviously home, and he loves playing college basketball. But, man, when ESPN mocks you in the top 10 in the NBA draft, you take it. I mean, it's one of those things. So you knew you're going to have to replace a lot. And you knew you had a lot of production, even like walking out the door from transferring out of here, right? So in an arms race that is the SEC men's basketball conference, where you just had 14 of your 16 teams play in the NCAA tournament, all the teams are active in the transfer portal. All of them are now spending more money than they ever have on their men's basketball programs to be competitive. in that landscape. And your biggest, the biggest splash you made now doesn't count. It's not, now it's gone. And now you're bringing in some guys who are solid players. Like I think Elijah Strong's a solid player, can play a role on a good team. I think, same thing about Kobe Knox. I think they're solid players. It's just what you've brought in is nowhere near enough to be competitive versus what other teams in your conference, especially in your neighborhood, like in LSU, have already brought in. I mean, just, without going through all the stats specifically, LSU brought in guys that made up for 5 all-conference appearances or all-conference seasons, 1 conference player of the year, and 2 former freshmen of the year in their respective conferences combined. Like that's
right.
That's the type of production that they're bringing in. And I mean, look, when a school like LSU loses 24 points per game in the portal and brings in 73, that's the type of upgrade you want to see at this part of the offseason, right? Not saying that it's not, because it's not over yet by any means, but you have a lot, less time now to be able to find the roles that I know you still need. Starting center, still going to be a need. Starting point guard, someone who is a true shot facilitator, shot creator, and facilitator, still need that. Someone who could do that at a high level, right? Because you saw the impact of what Talon Cooper's departure was. I think we didn't realize it until the season started and you saw what's missing in the offense to realize, my God, that guy did so much for this offense and was so great at his role that it elevated everybody else. Didn't have that in the same way last year. You don't have that on the roster right now, and you need that on the roster. So not only are you going to have to replace the potential 20 points per game you thought you were getting in, you got to get some of that back. You also have to fill in 2 very big roles on the roster as well.
We'll talk more about this with our buddy Alan Cole, who's been following the story all morning and been doing some digging. Again, there's a lot of, and we'll get into more of this. Was it about money? Was it about basketball? Was it both? Was it timing? There could be a whole host of things and maybe it's yes. Yeah. We'll talk more about it coming up in just a bit. But again, Trayson Eagle staff out of Carolina basketball before he ever really got in. Staying with the Gamecocks and our integrated media headlines of the day, Paul Maneri's baseball team gets back to winning ways last night with a 4-0 win over the Citadel. But South Carolina didn't score again after the 3rd inning. 3 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, and that was it. Good pitching last night against the Citadel team that's right around 500, kind of like the Gamecocks. Jackson Soucy went 3 in the 3rd. Tyler Pitzer was 2 in the 3rd. Ashton Crowther went 2 in the 3rd, and Parker Marlett closed it out with 1 inning. Pitzer was the winning pitcher last night for South Carolina. Ole Miss comes to town tomorrow night. Let's get to a little bit of sound. Here's Coach Maneri on simply seeing his team get back on the win column.
Just really proud of the guys for bouncing back today after a couple of heartbreaks of this past weekend. And, it sounds like a broken record, I know, but, there's no use dwelling on the past, and I told the guys when we got back from College Station after such a heartbreaking defeat, as heartbreaking as it ever can be, that, you just can't do anything about the past. You have to seize the moment, and we didn't. We ended up losing the game, but the worst thing is if you let it drag into the next day or the next game or whatever. And we still have a lot to play for. And the guys went out there and played pretty well tonight, I thought. Obviously, we pitched great right from the start. Soucy, Pitzer, Ashton, Marlott, they all did a tremendous job. The pitch is shut out. We played good defense behind them. We hit just enough to make it work. So I'm just really proud of the guys that, they represented our university in such a great way tonight.
At this point, any win is a good win, but of course, it's not a conference win, Elijah. Just enough, said Paul, in terms of offense. Again, 3 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, and that was it. But from a pitching perspective, just 3 walks in those 9 innings. South Carolina pitchers struck out 7, and you mentioned good defense, no errors committed last night for South Carolina. Nathan Hall out of the lineup, as Paul told us on Monday. He's got a little injury, and they knew he wasn't going to play last night. They hope to get him back in tomorrow. We'll see. Henry Kazmar, the shortstop, hit leadoff last night. But I don't know, Elijah. At this point, yes, a win's a win. No question. But I don't
Never
know
boo
that
wins.
this. No, never, ever, absolutely not. But I don't know that this one is going to do anything, if I may be so bold, to really restore any kind of confidence from a fan perspective. Maybe the players, and again, the pitching was that's good. That's because the pitching that's
a plus.
The pitching let you down. I mean, the pitching let you down this weekend. There's no question. The pitching in College Station was poor. That's me being nice about it and efficient with my time. But you're gonna have to. You're still gonna have to find a way to pick yourself back up. And this Ole Miss team has been hovering around the top 10 most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, now you take 2 or 3 from Ole Miss. All right, then that definitely changes the tide a little bit. That's because those are wins to get really excited about because you're doing it against one of the nation's best. Again, a team that's hovered around the top 10 with a coach who's won a College World Series championship in recent memory. So like that would be a win, a series win to hang your hat on. Because I mean, we're over halfway through April, and you still haven't won a series yet in SEC play. You got to get one of those under your belt.
Yeah. No, like we said, against the highest level of competition you've seen this season, you are 2-17, and you've been swept. What 4 times?
Mm-hmm.
4 times? Yeah,
sounds about right.
So, not good. Yeah, Clemson swept you, Tennessee swept you, Arkansas swept you, A&M swept you. Yeah. So not
ideal.
Not good at this. No. But again, Gamecocks and Rebels tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, over at Founders Park. Speaking of baseball, the Atlanta Braves fall in Toronto. The Braves losing is becoming quite common these days. So not good for a lot of baseball fans in these parts. Braves fall 3-1 in Toronto. So they drop that series 2-1. The good news, though, today is that Spencer Strider was back on the hill for the Braves after his terrible injury last year.
Silver lining.
Today. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you do what you can, right? So I'll give you his line. He was 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts through 97 pitches, 58 of them for strikes. So he will leave the game, or he left the game with a 3.6 ERA in his first start. So, encouraging. Encouraging. That's the best thing I can say about it. Encouraging.
If you get him to what he is, what his ceiling is, he's going to help this team out significantly. Enough to where those, winning streaks you have to be able to string together throughout the course of a 162-game regular season, more likely to happen if you have him at what his normal level is, which is pretty darn good. And then Acuna comes back soon too. So, I mean, help is on the way, Braves fans. Help is on the way.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when, but soon. And finally, quickly again, Champions League quarterfinals are now complete. First off, Inter Milan has moved on past Bayern Munich, aggregate 4-3. They will see Barcelona, and Arsenal has beaten Real Madrid in Madrid 2-1. The Gunners win 5-1 on aggregate. They will see Paris in the semifinal. So there we go. Arsenal is into the Champions League semifinal. And somebody that is talking right now is very, very excited. And so is John Whittle and my buddy Avery Wilkes, my buddy Jackson Sawyer, my buddy Andy Shane, and Arsenal fans everywhere. All right, there you go. Come back on the other side. Our good friend Alan Cole will join us. Exactly what has he learned about the Trayson Eagle staff decommitment? How does it impact South Carolina basketball moving forward? What are the hopes of trying to secure someone even close to that level of talent? Alan Cole of GamecockScoop.com joins us with the latest that he's learned when the postgame show comes right back at you. All right, 18 minutes after 5 o'clock here on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm on Hilton Head Island. Beautiful day down here. I hope it's equally beautiful back home, Elijah Campbell, Coach Campbell.
It is. Yes, Coach Campbell. Yes, thank you for using my
That's
official title as of today.
That's right.
72 degrees.
Right.
It's wonderful down here.
Oh, wow. We got, let's see, I got 67 down here on Hilton Head Island right now. So very nice, but not a great day for Carolina basketball fans, as it was learned this morning that North Dakota transfer Trayson Eaglestaff, who had committed to Carolina just about 2 weeks ago, has now decommitted, gave a statement saying just, I'm paraphrasing now. It's just good for me and my family to make this decision. Thanks to Carolina for what they did. To discuss that and more, we welcome back onto the program our buddy Alan Cole on the beat for GamecockScoop.com, the rival site that covers Carolina. Alan, first off, I could go a lot of different directions, but let me maybe start. And I don't know that you have an answer yet, but let's start with the why. Why did this decommitment occur from what you're learning?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you I don't have an answer yet. It was obviously earlier today. I have a pretty good idea. I mean, I think we all kind of get to the idea of, one of the highest priced, named players in the transfer portal, a guy who was one of the leading scorers in the country last year, who had offers from Kentucky and Alabama and, name your blue bloods, and ended up at South Carolina 2 weeks later, isn't at South Carolina. I think we can kind of put two and two together. You know what I mean? Like, he's from North Dakota and also was born there. He's not going back home kind of thing. But it sounds like a money thing without actually knowing that for sure.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think there maybe some basketball stuff there as well, in terms of maybe how offenses run. It would make sense, especially if he goes to a place like Alabama that shoots a ton of threes and gets up and down the floor. I know there are other systems where I could definitely see him working in, but I mean, the fact that we know of is that he is gone, and why yet, I guess we don't really know, but the fact that he is gone, I feel like leaves a pretty big void in the transfer portal class that we didn't expect to have to account for. How do you think maybe they address this, and how big of a loss is this in terms of how this coaching staff has to kind of go back to the drawing board and build a roster for next year?
Yeah, you talk about a void, and you just look at it just from a straight numbers perspective, and the points he was averaging at North Dakota, and whether or not that would have been the same in the SEC, obviously we don't know, but that was your big piece of this portal class. Maybe you like how do you say his name, Eason Deco from Providence? Is that pronounced right? I hope. Maybe you like him. Kobe Knox, Elijah Sharp. Those are your last two over the last week, but none of them had the college production or proven kind of safety net that Eaglestaff did. So no, it's troubling. And then you probably were expecting to lose Colin Murray-Boyles, but now that that's official as well, it almost feels like you lost your two leading scorers, one who you had last year and one who you thought you were going to have this year, kind of back-to-back days here. So there's a scramble going on there, and I know you have some numbers, Elijah, but just the actual returning production for this roster is very, very low and alarming.
Alan, one of the things that Elijah and I mentioned, and I've talked about this earlier on the show today, when this commitment first came down, at the time, hey, cool, great for Carolina, but we said, somewhat jokingly, like, wow, that's now three dudes on the perimeter that have never met a shot they don't like. And so, how are you going to do that? And again, we joked, there's only one basketball to share. So how are you going to get all those guys the opportunity to produce the way they feel they can and should? I'm not saying this is addition by subtraction either, but does it put more pressure is where I'm going to take you. And again, this is more of an opinion question, obviously. Does this put more pressure on incoming freshman Eli Ellis? Does this put more pressure on Michi Johnson, who returns to the program? Again, dudes who love to shoot and will shoot from almost anywhere. Or is this something now that they've got to go find somebody else in addition to a point guard? Do they have to go find another shooter?
I'll start with the pressure part. I think yes on those two, on the Eli Ellis, on the Michi Johnson front, but also not only those two. I think it's kind of everybody. I mean, this is still, your post players feel it when you can't hit outside shots. Your outside players feel it when you don't have space inside. Like, it all works in tandem. So I don't think it's just those two. I think it's everybody when you lose a player you thought was going to be a big part of next year. And then after what they have to do, yeah, I mean, again, it's an opinion question. You look at the roster right now with 4 incoming true freshmen, some transfers you like, but Michi Johnson's a proven commodity at this level, but the other 3 in this class now aren't. I don't know what you're really expecting within the SEC with the roster you have right now, just as it's currently sitting here on April 16th.
Yeah. It's tough to see improvement as it is right now. And that's kind of, I guess, the big thing for me too, is would you be asking a lot of those 4 freshmen, which, I mean, it's a solid recruiting class out of high school. And I believe it's still top 20, but I mean, if the baseball team this year has taught you anything too, yes, you can have a couple of freshman standouts, but it's probably not ideal to lean on them for a massive amount of offensive production when the sport is naturally just older than it's ever been.
No, I don't think you can rely. I mean, you're not starting 4 freshmen next year, right? Like, you're not. Obviously, Eli Ellis is the name everybody knows and the volume scorer, but even if you like, I don't know, Hayden Simeon, maybe you think he can be a good piece next year, and I think he can, but like, you're probably not giving him 20, 25 minutes a night. That's just not happening. EJ Walker, Grant Polk, like, you're not doing that. So yes, I think this does put it this way, like, they got Eagle staff for a reason to start with because they knew they couldn't do that. So now you're kind of back where you were before you made that signing.
Alan, let me ask you, and I say it like this, today down here on Hilton Head Island was the Heritage Pro-Am, and Shane Beamer and Lamont Paris were in the same group. And I got to see them for just a minute around 9:30 this morning as they were, after they had hit a drive, they were coming down the fairway, and I just, briefly said hello. And, they went on about their business, and so did I. And Lamont looked to be in great spirits. I guess my question is, do you have any idea when? I mean, did he find out about this while he was down here at the Heritage Pro-Am? Did he have an inkling this might have been coming? What do you know on that angle?
Yeah, on that angle, I'll be honest, I don't know much. I would have to imagine this wasn't out of the blue, just because that's not usually how these things go. And also, I will say too, Lamont's just generally a pretty positive guy. Like,
right.
Elijah, you were in post games last year, and they're losing game after game, and he's still keeping it upbeat and optimistic. So I wouldn't read too much into an interaction on the golf course this morning. Maybe he hit a really good drive. I don't know, but
that would make him
it was
excited.
Good. It was good.
That would make him excited. Yeah, he's a big
golfer.
Yeah,
he's a pretty positive guy in general. So whether he knew about this or not, I think that's just kind of the way he is.
All right, so give us the particulars. So I mean, when the portal closes, that doesn't mean you can't sign people. Once you're in the portal, you're in the portal. But the deadline to enter the portal is coming soon. So, and again, opinion question based on the things that you have learned about Lamont and the program. I mean, you want to act as quickly as possible, but this is likely going to free up a significant amount of money, Alan. So. What are we looking at next? I mean, do you try to go in and entice somebody else simply with more money? What are you hearing or feeling about how they attempt to fix this?
Yeah, I think you kind of go, every program, you make a list, you have your targets, you kind of go after it. And I think you kind of just return to there. Now it's later in the process. A lot of kids have already committed. I think by now, most people who intend to enter the portal or could be enticed to enter have already done it. It's been open 3 out of the 4 weeks by now. We're down to, I think the portal closes for entries on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, or is it next Wednesday? It's about a week. Mm-hmm. So I think you kind of look at what's out there. You go for that same kind of, I still think, and again, opinion question, you're still looking perimeter, you're still looking guard, you're still looking kind of volume scorer. I think you saw Michi Johnson run the point 2 years ago, and you saw how much better he was playing off the ball when you had Talon Cooper. So I think you're still kind of looking in that direction. But if I had to guess, the name you're thinking of or the name it's going to end up being, whatever it is already in the portal. It's not someone else you're going to go get to jump in this late.
Yeah, definitely. And before we get you out of here too, Alan, I'm calling a play in the spring game on Friday. If you have any advice to me about what you want to see run on a football field, are you serious?
So is this like a 107.5 thing? Are you calling a play?
Yeah, I'm going to be on the field. Real. Shane Beamer confirmed with us earlier today that I will be calling a play in the spring game. There has been a lot of power that has just been put in the wrong hands. So if you have any advice, what you'd want to see in a spring game, I'm all ears.
Run the dang ball. That's my advice.
Run the dang ball.
No one's ever going to say, "Oh my God, Elijah called the pick six play." You just call a simple counter or a trap or just something safe.
That's true. Maybe we can go triple option. That's something
There you
that
go.
could work too. You know, a little bit of
There you
wishbone
go.
here, like how freaky
Run
you
the
want to get.
Oh my God. Wait, I know I probably gotta get off soon, but like, do you know what players you have yet? Do you know which team you're calling for? Like, that's crazy.
Not yet. I'm going to have to
Okay.
study. I'm going to have to know my personnel. I told Shane I'd study both rosters and that we're going to be prepared for whoever I'm calling plays for.
All right. That's awesome. Congratulations to you. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. The spring game just got a lot more interesting.
It just got a little juicier.
Yeah. If it's a wishbone play, the players are going to go, "How old is that guy?" They're going to go, "There's no way he's 30."
He looks
you
like
sure
he's
he's
from
not-
the 70s, but there's no
Yeah,
way
is
he's
he-
just 30 years old.
Is he 30 plus 50? Like, what are we doing here?
You pulled up some
So,
Oklahoma, Nebraska tape from 71, and
dude.
Elijah's just sitting there cutting up the film for Friday.
Alan, good stuff, man. Appreciate it. I know you'll stay on top of this one. The Carolina offseason basketball story yet to be fully written. So we'll check in again soon. Thanks, man.
Yep. Appreciate you having me. Good luck Friday, Elijah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and my coaching day.
Yeah, that's right. Alan __ Cole, 2 of them to follow on Twitter, GamecockScoop.com. The drive around the SEC is next.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to. They're causing some issues here on the roadways in the Midlands, starting with one on Andrew Corley Road at South Carolina 6 near North Lake Drive, one on Colonial Drive near Hardin Street, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at I-26, and lastly, one on I-77 northbound just after the Killian Road exit 22.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Wednesday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Elijah's in downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios. Yours truly at Sea Pines Resort. The Heritage gets underway tomorrow on the Harbortown Golf Links. Looking forward to that. I'll be giving you a lot of details tomorrow and Friday. We start with SEC baseball last night. Gamecock fans, I don't know if this is good or not, but Ole Miss lost last night. Little Rock beat them in Oxford 7-3. Ole Miss number 11 this week.
Playing more
Elijah,
like Big Rock.
Does that matter?
Does it matter? No.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it matters.
Bellarmine, as Elijah told me, I can't say Bellarmine, but Bellarmine of Louisville. Yeah, Bellarmine of Louisville lost to Tennessee last night, 13-3, a run rule game. Although it took Tennessee into the 8th inning to get the run rule established. 13-3 the final.
Bellarmine almost went the distance in this.
That's right.
This boxing match.
Again, Gamecocks over the Citadel 4-0. Florida run rules the Stetson Hatters 14-4. They need wins. The Bedlam baseball game in Stillwater was not good for the homestanding Cowboys. Sooners go over there and win 11-1. So another run rule game. That one put away with 5 in the 8th. Elijah Campbell, 5 in the 8th to really seal the deal for OU. Vandy beats Lipscomb. That was a tight one, man. In 10, Commodores beat Lipscomb 5-4. Lipscomb and Belmont from time to time will give Vandy a little something, Elijah Campbell.
Yeah, the old battle of Granny White Pike in Nashville, those schools separated by like 5 miles on the same road. I mean, you take Granny White Pike and go a little north, you get to Belmont, south, you get to Lipscomb, all near Vanderbilt's campus as well. All 3 of those schools are very close together. And it's like a little mini holy war between Belmont and Lipscomb, just 2 different, denominations of Christianity. Sure. So it's a mini, I don't call it the holy war. That's BYU and Utah. But, I do consider, you can have the Belmont-Lipscomb rivalry be, the Battle of Granny White Pike, or it can also be the secondary holy war.
Hey, by the way, I know this is a drive around the SEC, but you just mentioned Utah, and I didn't see it. I saw something go by on YouTube. One of those Locked On whatever podcasts.
Uh-huh.
And it said Utah was flirting with the Big Ten. Have you seen this?
Utah flirting with the Big Ten?
Yeah.
No, I've seen nothing.
It was it was like a Locked On the Big 12 podcast or something. I'm not knocking it. I don't know what is that.
I
don't know how
else.
Okay.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I was like, wait, what? Utah to the Big Ten? Is the Big Ten looking to expand again? And Utah?
I'm sure. I'm sure the 18 other member schools would be thrilled to have to split that pot of the TV deal with another 2 schools.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. Anyway, I just saw that yesterday, and I thought, wait, what? I hadn't heard any of that. Anyway, continuing with the baseball, Arkansas beats Pine Bluff 13-3. Man, lots of run rule games. Auburn edges Jacksonville State 4-3. Georgia Tech beats Georgia 5-2 at Truist Park last night. Mississippi State all over Southern 16-2. Missouri edges Missouri State 10-9. I just like saying it that way. A&M over Tarleton 11-3. Kentucky edges Miami of Ohio No, I was waiting for you to do it again.
That
4-3. Alabama over UAB 5-3. LSU beats McNeese 10-3, and the Texas Longhorns take care of the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, which again is a real mouthful. Final score there, 11-4. A couple of quick notes for you before we get to a couple of phone calls. Florida forward, basketball forward, of course, Alex Condon, the Australian, will make himself eligible for the NBA draft, but he is retaining his eligibility. So depending on what he hears in the coming weeks, he may return to the Gators next season. Is he a sophomore, Elijah Campbell?
Sophomore.
2 years he's played?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. And Oklahoma, yesterday we told you about star running back from California, that's Cal, University of, Jaden Ott, entering the transfer portal, and that the Bears had been, from a report out in Berkeley, had been fighting off heavy SEC interest. And last night we learned that that was indeed the case. Jaden Ott has announced he is going to Oklahoma. So he will help the Sooners try and resurrect some things there. But again, a kid that has been an all Pac-12 first-team performer, was pretty good in the Big Ten last year, and in his 3 seasons with the Bears, has nearly 3,500 all-purpose yards and has had a 1,000-yard rushing season to boot. So this is a really good player. And Oklahoma gets a nice one to help them kind of jumpstart that offense. Let's get on the phone lines. We've been talking about a lot of things today, and Casey has been very patient, which we certainly appreciate. Casey, how you doing, man? Welcome in.
I'm great. It's a talent that I learned being a father of 7. I'm pretty good at it.
Patience becomes a must at that point. Yes.
Amen.
But before I get started, I do want to give a big shout out and congratulations to Coach Campbell for making his debut at the spring game. Right. I'm so excited for it.
On the big stage.
Give it
stage.
up for
It's
Coach.
going to score. Book it. It's going to
give it up for Coach.
When it comes to basketball, I really started following recruiting with Lamont Paris. And if you follow recruiting, you know that, one, dealing with teenagers is a challenge in itself. And then you've got parents. So as a coach, you've got 2 massive mountains to overcome when it comes to proving that your program is what's needed. And with the money in today's world, I would say that every commitment, until that person is like playing for us, it's on a thin line. And I learned with G.G. Jackson that the big names don't mean much if they're not in a program that's suited for them. So as a fan, I hope the best for this kid. And I believe in Lamont Paris. And I think that next year is going to be a good tell on, Lamont's ability to succeed with the Columbia market and challenging himself to go against all these other SEC teams. So I'm anxious to see where he goes.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, Casey. Yeah, and thanks. And again, patience is learned. As I don't have 7, but I've got 4, and yeah, you do have to pack the patience from time to time. He makes a good point, Elijah. Next year, and you listen, you did a great job, sir, of outlining the lost production and what still must be made up just to make South Carolina moderately competitive, or at least on paper, moderately competitive. This will be, and look, they're going to fill those 5 slots. They've got 5 to fill, and they will be filled. By whom? We don't know yet. And again, just because the portal closes next week doesn't mean they can't continue to fill those holes beyond, I think it's April 22nd. So what is that, Tuesday? Next week is when the portal closes. So if you want to be in it, you got to do it, I think, by 5 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. But you can still, again, once you're in, you're in. But it will be, to Casey's point. I think he makes a great point there. It'll be a real test of Lamont's coaching, and perhaps to some degree, Elijah, to stay with the theme, Lamont's own patience.
Yeah, absolutely. And how far you can plan ahead and what your contingency is. I think everybody's got, especially when it comes to portal recruiting and how volatile dealing with, 18 to 24-year-olds, I guess, can be. We've certainly seen how fastly a mind can change in the span of a couple weeks. But what do those contingency plans look like? What are you breaking in case of emergency? Because it's an arms race. Ultimately, what coaching in the SEC at any sport is an arms race to accumulate a ton of talent. And that is such a big part of this entire college landscape. And it always has been, but maybe more so now because of just the influx of transfers and the shift in dynamics of needing to be older and better on a year-to-year basis. This is the ultimate test. I think Casey put it pretty well that this is a great test. I would say, it's the ultimate test of where this program is going direction-wise, is if they can bounce back this year, especially with the adversity of losing a player like Colin. And then with what happened with Trace and Eagle staff, can you put together a team in your image that can still win you an adequate amount of SEC games to be considered for the tournament on a yearly basis?
Yeah, we shall see. Casey, thanks for the phone call. And again, thank you for the patience. We appreciate you. That's the drive around the SEC. Come back on the other side. One of the best players in college football heading into the draft has laid down an ultimatum. And at least one NFL team says, hey, all right, we hear you. And we're on your side. We'll tell you more about it on the other side. This is the Postgame Show. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes of the post-game show coming at you from Hilton Head and Columbia. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. Heritage starts tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I'll bring you coverage. I was saying to Terry and Tyler earlier, Elijah, where I am fortunate enough to broadcast from is adjacent to the 18th green, and they've got the luxury suites, you know,
the nice
and they weren't open today. I was here yesterday too. They weren't open yesterday or today for the patrons. They are open just for the 4 days of the tournament. But today, sir, they were bringing in all of the adult beverages, if you will, just for this one location. And in so many words, I said, just like, I don't know, it felt, I mean, obviously I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but not much. Like imagine like when you walk into, you know, Greens or Bottles or wherever, you know, it felt like they were basically just unloading one store for where I was. And I was like, people are getting ready to have a real good time.
Oh, you know, it's going to be used too in its entirety.
Oh, my,
you know, it's going to be used. Maybe before
like
Saturday.
I don't know, man. Like, listen, Friday and Saturday, woo, Nelly. I've been here a few times, and it's fun, my man. It's fun. But they were, and again, that's just this one. There's another. This is the green. It's like a double decker here. They've got a double decker down at 17 green, 18T. That's just as big. So I can only imagine that they were unloading just as much. And then they've got a big hospitality area up near 10T, 9 green. Yeah, this is it's a party. It's a party. It's a party. So we'll see. Tomorrow and Friday, you may need to hit the dump button. I don't know. Not for me.
That's why it's here.
Not for me. But we'll see. But no, in all seriousness, and I know a lot of you that are in Columbia or anywhere you're listening to us, over in Florence or up at the beach, you'll be down here this weekend too. So it's going to be a very good time.
I have dreams that I have to hit the dump button. I really do. I have dreams that I'm at work and somebody drops an F-bomb or something and I have to press the dump button. And I think that's just from the one time I ever actually had to do it with Malcolm Butler.
Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, not yet in Columbia.
That type of shock is a very specific feeling when you're sitting behind a soundboard and someone says one of the naughty words you're not allowed to say on the radio, and you scramble to find that dump button, which you always know where it's at all times in case you have to use it. You just never want to have to use it, and you panic a little bit. I've had dreams, nightmares, I would consider. I'd classify those as nightmares, Jay Phillips, where somebody says something, a guest says something, and I have to use the dump button. I'm
glad that I have not done that to you yet, but don't think it's for a lack of trying.
We're still young.
We'll see.
We're still young. A lot of time.
That's right. Before we get out of here, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, who's getting his jersey retired at Colorado, I believe this weekend, or did that already happen? I can't remember. But either way, as we all know, he was a fantastic two-way player. He was maybe the best shutdown corner in college football. He was one of the best wide receivers in college football. Certainly helped Shedeur Sanders go to a record-breaking year at Colorado with more than 4,000 yards passing. That Travis was a big part of that. But he has said this week that if he doesn't get a chance to play both ways, he says this, quote, what would be the reaction if he didn't get to play both ways with the NFL team that picks him? Quote, it's never playing football again because I've been doing it my whole life and I love being on the football field. I feel like I could dominate on each side of the ball, so I really enjoy doing it. Now, first off, before I say something else about this, Elijah, sometimes I would say that somebody's just that's a lot of bravado. I don't know if he would actually quit because of the amount of money he's going to be able to make. But
Correct.
On the other hand, I do take him seriously in what he would seem or what he would see as a high level of disappointment, because I think he would take it personally in that his new team doesn't believe in him on whichever side they said he couldn't play.
Yes. Hyperbolic. Yes. I believe it is maybe a hyperbolic statement because I think NFL teams would reasonably call that bluff and like, oh, you're not going to play wide receiver or corner for all this money. I think he would eventually do it, but I am totally with you that the reason he says this because he is fully confident in his capabilities to play both. And he knows he can play both. I think he can play both. I've seen him do it, and that the kid doesn't get tired. And there might not be able to play both for entire games, because you did see at Colorado, especially the year before last season, where you could tell there was some fatigue. And Stanford specifically is the example that comes to mind, where they just kind of picked on him. They had Eligiah Manor, who is in the same draft himself as a receiver. And he caught 13 passes for over 200 yards. A lot of that on Hunter, because Hunter was rightfully so a little gassed. But
yeah,
I think hyperbolic, but I don't think that that ends up happening. I think teams will give him a shot at it.
The New York Giants need a lot of help, and they have the 3rd overall pick in the draft. And their general manager, Joe Shane, said today that, quote, "We would not be afraid to play him on both sides of the ball." He didn't get into any further specifics about one side over another, but that they would give him the opportunity. Now, I think a lot of people think it's going to be Ward and Carter, and then Hunter goes next. So we shall see.
Feels like
it. And that, it feels like it, exactly. But there still could be some movement. But interesting story developing right there. Thanks again to Coach Beamer for joining us today. We appreciate that. Thanks as well to our buddy Alan Cole. Y'all check those out on the YouTube page or on the podcast page, and we'll do it again tomorrow from here in Hilton Head and Columbia. See ya. And one final note from our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. The mission at the Joint is very simple: improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care. But they don't stop there. They want to help you maintain your body and prevent reoccurring issues. So if you have of late or for a while been bothered by back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, any kind of joint pain, get back in the game with the Joint. You never have to worry about appointments. You never have to worry about insurance. You can also know that they're FSA and HSA approved. The Joint Centers are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, and Saturdays, 10 to 4. You can get in there during lunch hour. You won't miss a lot of time. Nothing to worry about there. Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. And if you've never been, a $29 initial visit gives you a consultation, an exam, and an adjustment. See if it's right for you. Remember this: you don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint.